Commander Jake Morrison felt his stomach drop as the last traces of hyperspace tunnel collapsed behind his ship. The blue and white swirls of twisted space faded away, leaving only the cold black of normal space dotted with distant stars. He gripped the armrest of his command chair and stared at the main screen showing the void ahead. "Report," Jake said to his bridge crew aboard the UES Defiance. His voice stayed calm even though his heart was beating fast. This was it. After 6 months traveling through hyperspace, they had finally reached their destination in the outer rim of the galaxy. Lieutenant Amy Carter looked up from her sensor station. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "Sir, all 12 ships in the fleet have successfully dropped out of hyperspace. We are now in the Zelkari sector as planned." Jake nodded. The human fleet was small by any measure. 12 ships seemed like nothing in the vastness of space, but it was the largest group of vessels that Earth had ever sent beyond their home solar system. The mission was simple in concept, but huge in importance. Find new worlds for humanity to settle, make contact with alien life if they found any, expand human presence into the galaxy. "Any signs of inhabited systems nearby?" Jake asked. Amy's fingers danced over her control panel. "Sir, I'm picking up multiple energy signatures, artificial ones. There are definitely alien civilizations in this area." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. They had hoped to find alien life, but now that it was real, everything felt different. "Can you identify the sources?" "Working on it, sir. I'm detecting at least 3 different types of energy patterns. Some look like power generation, others might be spacecraft engines, and there are communication signals everywhere." From across the bridge, Lieutenant Colonel Nina Brooks looked up from the tactical station. "Commander, should we go to alert status?" Jake thought for a moment. They had spent years preparing for first contact, but now that the moment was here, all the training felt inadequate. "Not yet. We came here in peace. Let's make sure our first impression shows that." On the science station, Dr. Helen Parker was studying her readings with intense focus. "Commander, you need to see this. The communication signals Amy detected aren't random. They're organized, structured, and there are a lot of them." "How many alien civilizations are we talking about?" Jake asked. Helen shook her head. "At least 4 different signal types. Maybe more. This sector is crowded with intelligent life." Jake stood up and walked to the main viewing screen. Somewhere out there in the darkness were alien beings going about their daily lives, alien governments making decisions, alien military forces that might see 12 human ships as either friends or threats. "Amy, open a channel to Admiral Hayes on the flagship," Jake ordered. The main screen shifted to show Admiral Lisa Hayes sitting in her command chair aboard the UES Liberty. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her blue eyes were alert. Behind her, Jake could see the busy bridge of the fleet's largest ship. "Admiral, we've confirmed multiple alien civilizations in this sector," Jake reported. Dr. Parker counts at least 4 different communication signal types. Admiral Hayes leaned forward. "Understood, Commander. Have you detected any hostile actions?" "No, ma'am. Everything seems normal. If anything, the aliens appear to be going about their regular business." "Good. Signal the fleet. We proceed with first contact protocols. I want all ships to power down weapons and broadcast our peaceful intentions on all frequencies." Jake nodded. "Yes, ma'am." The screen went dark, and Jake returned to his command chair. "You heard the Admiral. Amy, start broadcasting our first contact message on all frequencies. Make sure it includes the peaceful greeting in mathematics and basic physics that the Earth scientists prepared." Amy's fingers flew over her controls. "Broadcasting now, sir." Minutes passed in tense silence. Everyone on the bridge watched their instruments, waiting for some kind of response from the alien civilizations around them. Jake wondered what the aliens would think of humanity's message. Would they understand that humans came in peace? Would they even care about contact with a small group of ships from an unknown species? "Sir," Amy said suddenly, her voice tight with concern. "I'm getting some strange readings." "What kind of strange?" "The alien communication traffic just changed. dramatically, all across the sector. It's like someone flipped a switch. Dr. Parker looked up from her station. I'm seeing the same thing. The communication patterns went from normal background chatter to what looks like emergency broadcasts. Jake felt his blood turn cold. Are you saying our message caused some kind of panic? It looks that way, sir. The signal traffic increased by over 300% in the last 5 minutes, and it's not random. It's coordinated across multiple star systems. Lieutenant Colonel Brooks stood up from her tactical station. Commander, I'm detecting movement. Large-scale movement. Multiple fleets of alien ships are changing course and heading in different directions. Toward us? Jake asked. No, sir. Away from us. It's like they're all retreating. Jake stared at the tactical display showing dozens of red dots representing alien ships moving away from human positions. Nothing in their first contact training had prepared them for this scenario. They had planned for hostile responses, friendly responses, and no response at all. But they had never considered that their very presence might cause an entire sector of the galaxy to react with what looked like coordinated panic. Amy, are we receiving any direct communications? Any attempts to contact us? Negative, sir. Just the emergency broadcast between alien ships. But Commander, there's something else. What? Our communication system is doing something it's never done before. It's automatically translating some of the alien signals. I don't understand how, but I can actually read parts of their messages. Jake walked over to Amy's station and looked at her screen. Among the streams of alien text, he could make out phrases that somehow appeared in English. Words like emergency, alert status, and most disturbing of all, they have returned. Dr. Parker, is this translation capability something we built into our systems? Helen shook her head. Absolutely not. Our communication array was designed for basic mathematical and scientific concepts. It should not be able to translate complex alien languages, especially ones we've never encountered before. Jake returned to his command chair and opened a channel to the entire human fleet. All ships, this is Commander Morrison on the Defiance. We have successfully made contact with multiple alien civilizations. However, our presence appears to have triggered some kind of emergency response across the sector. All ships maintain peaceful posture and continue broadcasting our peaceful intentions. We are not under attack, but something about our arrival has clearly upset the local balance. As Jake closed the channel, he stared out at the stars and wondered what humanity had stumbled into. 12 small ships carrying a few thousand humans had somehow managed to panic an entire sector of the galaxy just by showing up. Whatever was happening, it was clear that this first contact mission had become something much larger and more dangerous than anyone on Earth had ever imagined. Captain Ben Rodriguez stood in the science lab aboard the UES New Horizon, watching Dr. Helen Parker work at 3 different computer screens at once. The xenobiologist had been monitoring alien communications for the past 6 hours, and what she had discovered was making everyone on the human fleet very uncomfortable. Captain, you need to hear this, Helen said without looking up from her screens. I've been analyzing the alien emergency broadcasts, and our translation system keeps getting better at understanding them. It's like our computers are learning their languages in real time. Ben walked closer to Helen's workstation. The screen showed flowing alien text alongside English translations that appeared and disappeared as the computer worked. What are they saying? Helen pointed to one of the screens. This is from the Zelkari Empire. They're the blue-skinned species that controls most of this sector. Their emperor just ordered 7 complete battle fleets to mobilize for something called World Ender Protocol. World Ender? Ben felt his stomach tighten. That doesn't sound good. It gets worse. The Thorian Republic is doing the same thing. So are the Korthak clans and at least 3 other alien governments. They're all activating ancient emergency plans that they haven't used in thousands of years. Ben sat down in a chair next to Helen's workstation. Ancient emergency plans for what? Helen pulled up another screen showing what looked like historical records. From what I can understand, there's something called the Silence Wars. It happened about 50,000 years ago. A species appeared in this galaxy and nearly destroyed all intelligent life before vanishing without a trace. And they think we're connected to this somehow. Not connected, Captain. They think we are them, the species that nearly ended everything. Ben stared at the alien text scrolling across the screens. The translation system was working so well now that he could read most of it directly. Reports from alien military commanders, panic messages between government officials, and historical records being pulled from archives that hadn't been accessed in millennia. Helen, show me these historical records about the Silence Wars. Helen's fingers moved quickly over her controls. Here's what I've been able to piece together. 50,000 years ago, a species appeared in this galaxy. The records describe them as bipedal mammals with remarkable technological adaptation abilities. They arrived in primitive ships but advanced incredibly fast. Ben read the translated text appearing on the screen. The descriptions were detailed and specific. 2 arms, 2 legs, forward-facing eyes, varied skin colors, and most importantly, an unconscious ability to interface with and improve any technology they encountered. This describes humans perfectly, Ben said quietly. That's not the scary part, Helen continued. According to these records, within just a few centuries, this species went from basic spaceflight to galaxy-spanning civilization. But their expansion triggered a war that lasted for thousands of years and killed trillions of beings across hundreds of worlds. Ben stood up and began pacing around the lab. So every alien species in this sector has been waiting 50,000 years for humans to return and finish destroying the galaxy. Exactly. And Captain, there's something else. Our communication systems aren't just translating alien languages. They're also broadcasting responses that we never programmed. Helen pulled up another screen showing outgoing transmissions from the human fleet. Ben could see standard peaceful contact messages, but mixed in were other signals that he didn't recognize. What kind of responses? Technical data? Mathematical formulas? Star charts? Our computers are sending information to the aliens that we didn't authorize and don't understand. Ben felt a chill run through him. Are we being controlled by something? I don't think so. It's more like our technology is automatically adapting to communicate with alien systems. But it's happening without any conscious input from us. Before Ben could respond, his communication badge buzzed with an incoming message from Admiral Hayes. Captain Rodriguez, report to the flagship immediately for an emergency conference. All ship commanders are required to attend. Ben looked at Helen. Keep monitoring those communications. If our ancestors really did try to destroy this galaxy, we need to understand what happened and why. 2 hours later, Ben sat in the main conference room aboard the UES Liberty with the other 11 ship commanders of the human fleet. Admiral Hayes stood at the head of the table with a grim expression on her face. I've received our first direct communication from an alien government, Admiral Hayes announced. Ambassador Kextara of the Zelkari Empire has agreed to meet with us face-to-face. Commander Jake Morrison leaned forward. That's good news, isn't it? Maybe. The message was very short. The ambassador asked only one question. Are you here? To finish what your ancestors started? The room fell silent. Every human commander understood the implications. The aliens weren't just afraid of human military power. They were afraid of human existence itself. Captain Tony Fletcher, commanding the UES Ranger, spoke up. Admiral, my engineering teams are reporting the same thing Dr. Parker discovered. Our technology is adapting and improving on its own. Systems that should take weeks to modify are changing in hours. How is that possible? Asked Captain Grace Sullivan from the escort frigate Vanguard. We don't know, Admiral Hayes replied. But according to the alien historical records, this is exactly what happened 50,000 years ago. The ancient humans possessed unconscious technological adaptation abilities that allowed them to advance impossibly fast. Colonel Steve Martinez, the fleet's senior military officer, stood up. Admiral, if the aliens believe we're the return of species that nearly destroyed the galaxy, they're going to attack us eventually. We should consider defensive preparations. Admiral Hayes shook her head. Colonel, we have 12 ships. The Zelkari Empire alone has mobilized over 300 warships. If they decide to attack us, defensive preparations won't matter. Then what do we do? asked Commander Rick Campbell. We meet with Ambassador Kexitara and try to convince the aliens that we're not here to destroy anything, but first we need to understand what really happened 50,000 years ago and why humans are so feared across this entire sector of the galaxy. Admiral Hayes activated a holographic display showing the local star systems. Red dots indicated alien military buildups around every major world within 50 light years of the human fleet's position. Every species in this region is preparing for war, Admiral Hayes continued. Not just the major governments, but minor colonies, independent settlements, and even civilian populations. They're all activating emergency protocols designed specifically to fight humans. Ben looked around the table at his fellow commanders. They had come to this sector of space as explorers and potential colonists. Now they found themselves at the center of a galactic crisis that had been building for 50,000 years. What about the meeting with the Zelkari ambassador? Ben asked. Tomorrow at 1400 hours at coordinates that Ambassador Kexitara will provide. I'll be leading a small diplomatic team, but I want all ships ready for anything. If this meeting goes wrong, we may find ourselves fighting for survival against enemies who have spent 50 millennia preparing specifically to defeat humans. As the conference ended and the commanders returned to their ships, Ben couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had stumbled into something much larger than first contact. They had walked into the middle of an ancient fear that spanned the entire galaxy, and somehow impossibly that fear was justified. Admiral Lisa Hayes stood in the shuttle bay of the UES Liberty, checking her equipment one final time before the most important meeting in human history. The small diplomatic shuttle would carry her and 3 other humans to a neutral space station, where they would meet Ambassador Kexitara of the Zelkari Empire face to face. Lieutenant Colonel Nina Brooks adjusted her sidearm and looked at the Admiral. Ma'am, are you sure about going aboard an alien station with minimal security? Admiral Hayes nodded. If Ambassador Kexitara wanted us dead, Colonel, we'd already be dead. The Zelkari have enough firepower in this system to destroy our entire fleet 10 times over. Dr. Carl Bennett, the fleet's chief engineer, was studying readings on a handheld device. Admiral, I'm still getting those strange readings from our shuttle systems. The navigation computer has somehow programmed itself with star charts of this entire sector, charts we definitely didn't have yesterday. Is the shuttle safe to fly? Admiral Hayes asked. Yes, ma'am. If anything, it's performing better than it ever has. But I can't explain how it knows where we're going when we only received the coordinates an hour ago. The 4th member of the diplomatic team, Captain Dan Foster, looked out the shuttle bay doors at the alien space station in the distance. The structure was enormous, easily 10 times larger than any human space station. Its crystalline construction reflected starlight in patterns that seemed almost alive. Admiral, incoming message from the alien station, announced the shuttle pilot. They're requesting that we dock at Bay 7. They're also transmitting approach vectors directly to our navigation system. Admiral Hayes climbed into the shuttle. Let's go meet the species that's been afraid of us for 50,000 years. The flight to the alien station took 20 minutes. During the journey, Dr. Bennett monitored the shuttle's systems and discovered something that made him very uncomfortable. Admiral, our shuttle is communicating with the alien station's computers, not just following their navigation signals, but actually exchanging data. Technical specifications, power requirements, even atmospheric preferences. What kind of data exchange? Admiral Hayes asked. It's like our computers having a conversation with their computer, and both systems are learning from each other. Captain Foster leaned forward. Is that dangerous? I don't know, but it's definitely not normal. Our computers shouldn't be able to interface with completely alien technology, especially not automatically. The shuttle docked with the alien station with surprising smoothness. The docking clamps engaged perfectly, and the airlock seals formed a tight connection between human and alien technology. Dr. Bennett shook his head in amazement. Admiral, that should have been impossible. Our docking systems were designed for human stations only. The airlock opened to reveal a long corridor lined with what looked like living crystal. The walls pulsed with soft blue light, and the air smelled of something like mint mixed with ozone. At the far end of the corridor stood a figure that was clearly not human. Ambassador Kexitara was tall and thin, with blue skin that had the texture of polished stone. Crystalline structures grew from her forehead and shoulders, and her eyes were large and completely black. She wore robes that seemed to be made of the same living crystal as the station walls. "Admiral Hayes of the human fleet," Ambassador Kexitara said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Kexitara of the Zelkari Empire. Thank you for accepting this meeting." Admiral Hayes stepped forward. "Ambassador, thank you for agreeing to meet with us. We come in peace and hope to establish friendly relations with your people." Ambassador Kexitara's crystalline structures flickered with patterns of light. "Admiral, I must ask you directly. Are you here to finish what your ancestors started 50,000 years ago?" "Ambassador, I'm not sure what you mean. This is humanity's first journey to this part of the galaxy. We have no ancestors who have been here before." The alien diplomat's skin patterns shifted to what looked like surprise. "You truly do not know?" "Know what?" Ambassador Kexitara gestured for the humans to follow her deeper into the station. They walked through corridors filled with displays showing images from across the galaxy, planets, star systems, and what looked like historical records stretching back thousands of years. "Admiral, 50,000 years ago, beings identical to your species appeared in our galaxy. They called themselves humans. They possessed the same physical characteristics, the same unconscious technological adaptation abilities, and the same capacity for rapid advancement that your people demonstrate." Admiral Hayes stopped walking. "That's impossible. Humans evolved, on Earth. We have fossil records going back millions of years. Perhaps. But the beings who nearly destroyed our galaxy were genetically identical to you. Their technology advanced from primitive spaceflight to galaxy-spanning civilization in less than 500 years. They could interface with any technology they encountered and improve it without conscious effort." Dr. Bennett looked around at the alien station. "Like our computers interfacing with your docking systems?" "Exactly like that. But Admiral, the ancient humans were not explorers like you claim to be. They were refugees. They were running from something that had destroyed their home galaxy." The group entered a large chamber filled with holographic displays, showing star maps and historical data. Ambassador Kexitara activated several displays, showing images of space battles, destroyed planets, and fleeing populations. The ancient humans fought a war against entities they called the Devourers, beings from outside our galaxy that consumed entire star systems. The humans developed weapons capable of destroying planets to fight these entities, but the war nearly destroyed all life in our galaxy. Captain Foster studied the battle images. What happened to these ancient humans? They vanished. One day, they were fighting the Devourers across hundreds of star systems. The next day, they were gone, all of them. Their ships, their colonies, their weapons, everything disappeared without a trace. Admiral Hayes felt a chill run through her. "And you think we're connected to them somehow?" "Admiral, you are them. The same species, the same abilities, the same unconscious technological adaptation. The only difference is that you claim to be explorers instead of warriors." Ambassador Kexitara activated another display showing DNA analysis and genetic comparison charts. "We took samples from the ancient human sites. The genetic markers match your species perfectly. You are not descendants of the ancient humans. You are the same humans, somehow returned to our galaxy." Dr. Bennett stared at the genetic data. "That's scientifically impossible. Even if humans had been in this galaxy before, 50,000 years of evolution would have created detectable genetic differences. Unless," Ambassador Kexitara said quietly, "time works differently than you understand." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Admiral Hayes looked at the displays showing the destruction caused by the ancient war, then at her own team members. "Ambassador, if what you're saying is true, then our arrival here might trigger the return of whatever the ancient humans were fighting. That is exactly what every government in this sector fears, Admiral. The Devourers consumed entire galaxies before the ancient humans arrived to fight them. If the humans have returned, it may mean the Devourers are coming back as, well..." Ambassador Kexitara's crystalline structures pulsed with urgent light patterns. "Admiral, Your people may be the only beings in the universe capable of fighting the Devourers. But the last time you tried, you nearly destroyed our galaxy in the process. Every species in this sector has spent 50,000 years preparing for your return, hoping we could find a way to survive whatever comes next. Admiral Hayes realized that their peaceful exploration mission had become something much larger. Humanity wasn't just making first contact with alien civilizations. They were potentially the key to a galactic war that had been building for 50,000 years, whether they wanted to be or not. Dr. Alex Turner carefully examined the ancient artifact in the research lab aboard the alien station. The object was clearly of human origin, but unlike any technology that Earth had ever produced. The metal was smooth and warm to the touch, and strange symbols covered its surface. As Alex studied the markings, something impossible happened. The symbols began to change, shifting into English letters right before his eyes. "Captain Sullivan, are you seeing this?" Alex called to Captain Grace Sullivan, who was standing nearby monitoring the examination. Grace moved closer to the artifact. "The writing is changing languages." "Not just changing, it's becoming readable, like it's adapting to my presence." Ambassador Kextara watched from across the lab with several other Zelkari scientists. "Dr. Turner, this artifact has remained unchanged for 50,000 years. Until now." Alex continued studying the object, and more text became clear. What he read made his blood run cold. "This isn't a tool or a weapon, it's a record, a history of what happened here." "What does it say?" Grace asked. Alex read from the artifact as the symbols continued translating themselves. "The Devourers came from the void between galaxies. They consumed the Andromeda Galaxy completely before moving toward the Milky Way. Humanity fought them for 300 years before developing weapons capable of stopping them." Ambassador Kexitara's crystalline structures flickered rapidly. "Dr. Turner, that matches our historical records exactly. But there is more information on that artifact than we ever recovered from the ancient sites." Alex nodded and continued reading. "The humans weren't from your galaxy originally. They came from our galaxy, the Milky Way, but from the future. They traveled back in time and across space to fight the Devourers here." Grace stared at the artifact. "That's impossible. The artifact says the timeline was breaking down. The Devourers were consuming not just matter and energy but time itself. The only way to stop them was to create a temporal loop. Humans from the future came back to fight a war that their past selves weren't strong enough to win." Ambassador Kextara stepped closer. "Dr. Turner, if this is true, then you are not the return of the ancient humans. You are the beginning of the timeline that created them." Alex felt dizzy as the implications hit him. "We're not the World Enders coming back. We're the ancestors of the World Enders. Everything we do here determines whether humanity's future becomes the saviors this galaxy remembers or something else entirely." Captain Grace Sullivan activated her communication device. "Admiral Hayes, you need to get down here immediately. Dr. Turner has discovered something that changes everything." 20 minutes later, Admiral Hayes arrived in the research lab with Commander Jake Morrison and Dr. Helen Parker. The artifact was now completely readable in English, displaying a detailed history of the ancient war. "Show me what you found," Admiral Hayes said. Alex pointed to different sections of the artifact. "According to this, the ancient humans weren't trying to conquer this galaxy. They were trying to save it. The Devourers had already consumed dozens of galaxies and were moving toward both the Milky Way and this galaxy. The only way to stop them was to fight them here, in this galaxy, before they could reach human space." Dr. Helen Parker studied the readings on her scanner. "But why did the ancient humans disappear?" Alex continued reading from the artifact. "They won the war, but at a terrible cost. The weapons they developed to fight the Devourers were so powerful, they threatened to destroy the galaxy they were trying to save. So they erased themselves from the timeline to prevent their weapons from being used again." Commander Morrison looked confused. "How do you erase yourself from a timeline?" "Time travel paradox," Alex explained. "They went back to before they arrived in this galaxy and prevented their own departure from the future. But the timeline loop they created means that someday, humans from our era will need to make the same journey. Admiral Hayes studied the artifact carefully. Dr. Turner, does this tell us when the Devourers will return? Alex's face went pale as he read the final section of the artifact. According to this, the Devourers operate on cycles. They consume galaxies in a specific pattern, then move to the next region of space. The cycle that brought them here 50,000 years ago is beginning again. How long do we have? The artifact estimates between 50 and 100 years before they reach this galaxy again. But Admiral, there's something else. The ancient humans left instructions, plans for weapons and defenses, but also a warning. Admiral Hayes leaned closer. What kind of warning? Alex pointed to the final section of the artifact. The weapons needed to fight the Devourers require a level of technological development that humanity won't reach for decades, but there's a shortcut. The unconscious technological adaptation ability that humans possess can be enhanced and accelerated. Enhanced how? Contact with advanced alien technology. The more complex the technology humans are exposed to, the faster their adaptation abilities develop. That's why our computers are interfacing with alien systems so easily. It's not random. It's evolution in action. Ambassador Kextara's skin patterns shifted to what looked like understanding. Dr. Turner, this explains why the ancient humans advanced so quickly. They weren't naturally that advanced. Their abilities were enhanced by contact with our technology. Dr. Helen Parker looked up from her scanner. But if that's true, then our presence here is already changing us. Every minute we spend around, alien technology is making our adaptation abilities stronger. Admiral Hayes felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. So we have a choice. We can return to Earth and remain as we are, leaving this galaxy defenseless when the Devourers return. Or we can stay here, let our abilities develop, and become the ancient humans that this galaxy remembers. Commander Morrison shook his head. But if we stay and develop these weapons, won't we risk destroying the galaxy like the ancient humans almost did? Alex read the final message from the artifact. The ancient humans left one more piece of information. They said the key is not to fight the Devourers the same way they did. The key is to find a different solution, a way to stop the Devourers without developing galaxy-destroying weapons. What kind of different solution? Admiral Hayes asked. The artifact doesn't say, but it suggests that the answer lies in cooperation between humans and the other species of this galaxy. The ancient humans fought alone because they arrived as refugees with no time to build alliances. We have time. We have the opportunity to work together. Ambassador Kextara stepped forward. Admiral Hayes, if what this artifact reveals is true, then my people have been preparing for the wrong war for 50,000 years. We have been preparing to fight humans. We should have been preparing to fight alongside humans. Admiral Hayes looked around the lab at the faces of her team and the alien ambassador. Ambassador, are you suggesting an alliance? I am suggesting that every species in this galaxy has a choice. We can continue to fear humans and prepare to fight you when the Devourers return, or we can work together to find the different solution that the ancient humans believed was possible. Grace Sullivan looked at the artifact, now displaying star charts and technical specifications that her mind was somehow beginning to understand. Admiral, I think the choice has already been made for us. Our abilities are developing whether we want them to or not. The question is whether we develop them alone or with help. Admiral Hayes realized that their exploration mission had become something far greater than anyone had imagined. They weren't just the first humans to visit this galaxy. They were potentially the first generation of humans who would need to save it. Admiral Lisa Hayes stood in the Great Assembly Hall of the Zelkari Capital Station, looking out at representatives from 12 different alien species. 3 months had passed since the discovery of the ancient artifact, and everything had changed. The fear that once filled alien eyes when they looked at humans had been replaced by something else. Hope, Emperor Vexhal of the Zelkari Empire, rose from his crystalline throne at the center of the assembly. His blue skin glowed with patterns that Dr. Helen Parker had learned meant determination mixed with respect. Admiral Hayes, the Galactic Defense Council has reached its decision regarding humanity's proposal. Admiral Hayes stepped forward. Behind her stood the other human fleet commanders, but they were no longer the same people who had arrived in this galaxy months ago. Their unconscious technological adaptation abilities had developed rapidly through constant contact with alien technology. Captain Ben Rodriguez could now understand alien computer systems as easily as human ones. Dr. Carl Bennett had helped design new types of spacecraft engines that combined human and alien technology in ways neither species could have achieved alone. Emperor Vexhal, what is the Council's decision? Admiral Hayes asked. The Council accepts humanity's proposal for a joint defense alliance. All 12 species represented here agree to share technology and resources to prepare for the return of the Devourers. But Admiral, we must ask once more. Are you certain that your people can find a different solution than the ancient humans? Admiral Hayes nodded. Your Majesty, we believe we can, but only if we work together. Captain Dan Foster, who had become humanity's permanent liaison with the alien military forces, activated a holographic display in the center of the assembly hall. The display showed star charts, defensive positions, and most importantly, the new technology that human and alien scientists had developed together. The ancient humans fought the Devourers with weapons designed to destroy entire star systems, Dan explained to the assembly. But we have discovered a different approach. Instead of fighting the Devourers, we plan to redirect them. War Chief Graktor of the Korthak clans, a massive reptilian being covered in natural armor, leaned forward. Redirect? You cannot redirect beings that consume galaxies. Dr. Janet Mitchell, the fleet's theoretical physicist, stepped up to the display. Her understanding of alien physics had grown remarkably in the past months. War Chief, the Devourers don't actually consume matter and energy. They consume the quantum structure that holds reality together. But that same quantum structure can be manipulated. The display changed to show complex equations that somehow made sense to both human and alien scientists in the room. We have developed a way to create quantum barriers, not to trap the Devourers, but to guide them away from inhabited galaxies and toward regions of empty space where they can feed without destroying civilizations. Ambassador Kexitara's crystalline structures flickered with interest. Dr. Mitchell, this would require technology more advanced than anything any of our species possess individually. That's correct, Ambassador. But together, we can build it. Human adaptation abilities combined with Zelkari quantum engineering, Thorian energy manipulation, Korthak metallurgy, and the unique talents of each species represented here. Emperor Vexhal stood up. Admiral Hayes, if this plan fails, the Devourers will consume our galaxy, just as they consumed the ancient humans' galaxy. Are you willing to stake the survival of all our civilizations on an untested theory, Admiral? Hayes looked around the assembly hall at the faces of beings from across the galaxy. Your Majesty, the ancient humans had no choice but to fight alone. They were refugees with no time to build alliances. We have time, and we have something they never had. We have each other. Commander Paul Jackson, who had spent months working with alien engineers to build the first prototype quantum barrier generator, activated another display. The prototype is already working. We've successfully created small-scale barriers that can redirect quantum energy. Scaling it up to galactic size will take time, but it's possible. War Chief Graktor slammed his armored fist on his chair. And if the Devourers arrive before we finish building these barriers? Captain Rick Campbell, now commanding the joint human-alien defense fleet, stepped forward. Then we fight them the traditional way while continuing to build the barriers. But War Chief, we won't be fighting alone like the ancient humans did. We'll have the combined fleets of every species in this galaxy. The assembly hall fell silent as each representative considered the proposal. Finally, Prime Minister Zethara of the Thorian Republic spoke. Admiral Hayes, humanity's arrival in our galaxy has forced us to confront our greatest fear. But you have also given us something we haven't had in 50,000 years, a reason to hope for a different outcome. Emperor Vexhal looked around the assembly at each representative. All in favor of the Galactic Defense Alliance? One by one, each alien representative voted yes. The Zelkari Empire, the Thorian Republic, the Korthak clans, and 9 other species formally agreed to work together to prepare for the return of the Devourers. Admiral Hayes felt a weight settle on her shoulders, but it was a weight shared by billions of beings across the galaxy. Thank you all. Construction of the first full-scale quantum barrier generator will begin immediately. Dr. Mitchell estimates completion within 20 years. And if the Devourers return before then? Asked Ambassador Kextera. Commander Jake Morrison, who had become the Alliance's strategic coordinator, answered, "Then we'll be ready to fight them with the combined technology and resources of an entire galaxy. The ancient humans faced the Devourers with the technology of one species. We'll face them with the technology of 13 species working as one." As the assembly ended and representatives returned to their homeworlds to begin preparations, Admiral Hayes stood with her original crew on the observation deck of the Capitol Station. Captain Grace Sullivan looked out at the construction yards where human and alien workers were already building the first components of the quantum barrier system. "Admiral, do you think we can really do it?" Grace asked. "Can we succeed where the ancient humans failed?" Admiral Hayes watched a group of human engineers working alongside Zelkari quantum specialists to solve a technical problem that neither species could have handled alone. "Grace, the ancient humans saved this galaxy by sacrificing themselves. But I think we can do better. We can save the galaxy without sacrificing anyone." Dr. Alex Turner, who had become the galaxy's leading expert on ancient human technology, joined them on the observation deck. "Admiral, I've been thinking about the artifact's final message. The ancient humans said the key was cooperation. I think they knew this day would come. I think they knew that someday, humans would return to this galaxy not as desperate refugees but as allies." Admiral Hayes nodded. "The human fleet appeared, and the aliens lost their cool. But from that panic, we built something the galaxy has never seen before. A true alliance between species working together for the survival of all." As construction continued around them and preparations began across the galaxy, Admiral Hayes realized that humanity's arrival had indeed changed everything. But instead of bringing destruction like the ancient humans, they had brought hope. The galaxy that had spent 50,000 years preparing for war was now preparing for peace, defended by the combined efforts of all its children working together against the darkness between the stars.